I'm no good at taking good advice, and I'm self-careless, so don't tell me twice that lately I've been so stuck in my head that I forget just about everything my therapist said. Maybe I'm self-helpless.
Hey everyone, welcome to Self-Helpless. I'm Delanie Fischer, and today I'm chatting with Dr. Tara, who is a tenured professor of Relational and Sexual Communication and Quantitative Research at California State University Fullerton. She's the featured expert on Celebs Go Dating, and she is also the new co-host of the iconic radio show Loveline. And today we are talking about the psychology of infidelity. Why do people cheat? We cover three main reasons this happens based on what the research says. Who is most likely to take a cheater back? There's an interesting theory around a specific attachment style, and really how people on all sides of infidelity can understand themselves and others better so they can make decisions that hopefully prevent these heartbreaking situations in the future as much as possible. So, whether you have been cheated on, you did the cheating, you're the person somebody cheated with, whatever it might be, we're hoping this episode brings a lot of clarity to these types of situations today. And look, as someone who was cheated on when I was younger and was completely devastated by it, I understand that this is a really sensitive topic and it can be very easy to demonize people who make the decision to cheat on someone. I get it. So, whether you've been hurt in this way or you are the one who cheated and you feel shame around it, perhaps you've left someone who cheated, perhaps you're staying with someone who cheated, perhaps all parties cheated, whatever the situation may be, we are coming from a balanced place today, because demonizing people it really gets us nowhere in this conversation, right? I mean, it doesn't make the issue go away. It just doesn't help anybody. If I heard this kind of conversation when I was younger, I think it would have helped me not take my situation so personally. So I'm really hoping that's what it might do for anybody who is struggling with what is referred to as betrayal trauma right now. And on the other hand, the people who have been unfaithful to their partner or partners, perhaps it's a pattern. We hope this will encourage you to ask yourself why you're putting yourself in these situations where people are getting hurt. And I'm sure you don't feel very good about it either. And what other options might you have instead that is a better fit for you? And just to be clear, this episode is for people who actually give a shit, and want to understand themselves better. Some people just don't care, and that is a whole nother factor at play where, somebody might not have the capacity to care about their impact on other people. We are not talking about that person today. That's just a different topic, different episode. This is for somebody who is hurting or they've recognized a pattern they no longer want to be in and they want to heal or make a change of some kind. And of course, I'm sure everybody tuning in, all of our ideal situations when it comes to the start and end of romantic relationships would be that they start and end in nice little pretty packages. Someone breaks up with person A, and then X amount of months or years go by, whatever the arbitrary, time is that is acceptable. And then they meet person B and fall in love. That is just not what stats say about how many relationships actually start and end. So, of course, we would all want zero infidelity, zero overlap, zero emotional connection with someone while somebody is with somebody else. But that's just not what the reality is for everybody. So, I'm sure we can all think of people right now, or maybe you are one of them, where somebody either knew their current partner while they were with a previous partner, or perhaps there wasn't much time in between romantic relationships and it hurt a previous partner. Maybe there was emotional or physical infidelity. Maybe people, think the lines were blurred because they hadn't been physically intimate with their partner, in months or years, and they don't even consider what they did cheating. Whatever it might be, and I'm not saying that all those situations are equal, but let's address how we can figure out what exactly each of us need in a relationship, communicate that clearly to others, and stick to our boundaries. So, Dr. Tara is also debunking some myths around sex and sexual behavior and communication. We're discussing things like quiet quitting in a relationship. Is it possible to grow while in relationship, or is being single really vital to our growth? So many great nuggets in this episode, especially things I've never even heard about before, like the catastrophe theory or a type of specialist that can help somebody with sexual trauma I had never heard of before. I even asked Dr. Tara if she's cheated on somebody in a relationship. So we covered a lot in this episode. Here is my chat with Dr. Tara. What are the most common misconceptions out there about sexual communication in general, if any, that you would like to address before we kind of dig in?
Oh, yeah. The biggest misconception that a lot of people have told me and challenged me for it is
Oh,
that sexual communication is unnecessary. Sex is a natural act that should just happen spontaneously. Sexual communication is the most important skill in your sex life.
yeah.
It's not how you can thrust. It's not like, buying sex toys or lingerie. It's not trying new positions. It's developing sexual communication competence. And in my research based on 5,000 participants, I found that sexual communication is one of the top 3 predictors of long term sexual satisfaction. So if
Mm.
you're in a long-term relationship and you're one of these people that tell me, "Oh, we don't need to talk about it. We just do it. We just have it." Then I can guarantee you your wife has an orgasm for 10 years.
Right.
And it's usually men who tell me that, by the way.
Yeah,
Sexual communication needs to happen because we don't know what the other person wants. We can't read minds, and
yeah,
we also can't read minds throughout the lifetime. Just because like someone likes one thing in their 20s doesn't mean they like the same thing in their late 20s or in their 30s. After you have children, maybe you like something else. Maybe like there's life happens. And when that happens, it also affects your sex life and sexual preferences and the propensity to explore. So I would
Mm.
say sexual communication is the main tool that allows you to consistently be on the same page when it comes to your sex life together in a relationship.
Absolutely. And I can imagine, I mean, if you aren't kind of aligned with your partner in that way, whether they're doing things that make you feel uncomfortable or vice versa, and nobody's really aware of it, that is a huge roadblock to climax and really
Oh
enjoying
yeah.
it and having a great sex life. So you could think on your end, well, everything's fine. I'm doing my thing, but your partner is like deeply uncomfortable and disconnected. And maybe I have a follow-up question then. Are there any myths that people still believe about sex or sexual behavior that you find yourself often debunking?
Oh, yeah, body count. Because the concept of body count is rooted in misogyny. Because body count for men is an achievement. Body count for women is something that they should be ashamed of. So
Yeah.
just the concept itself is unfair and a double standard, and people really should stop talking about it. But at the same time, they just can't. If you Google like videos about dating and relationship and sex on YouTube, for example, like you'll find many creators making videos about like what is her body count? Is she worth dating? Is she a wifey? So,
Oh my gosh.
and people are like, oh yeah, her pussy is so loose because she's had so much sex. I'm like, okay, listen up.
Oh,
I have
ridiculous.
talked
Yeah.
to so many gynecologists, urologists, and just sexual health experts around the world. And every single person says that having a lot of sex has nothing to do with loose or tight vaginas. Vaginas bounce back so quick. Like, vaginas can have babies. I mean, like, your dick is not
Right.
as big as a baby. Like, shut
You
up.
wish, but
Especially these people saying these things.
that shit's elastic, right? I mean, like, it just
100%.
whoop, it comes right back.
Exactly.
Incredible.
And when you regularly, and regular is a little bit subjective, but when you regularly use your vagina, it actually gets more tight. It gets tighter because it's like a muscle. Like you use it, like your vaginal wall and the elasticity is getting like practice. But people who may not have had
Wow.
sex for a long time may experience a condition called like vaginal atrophy.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
where it's like too tight to enter or enjoy sex because hasn't been any activity. So it has atrophied.
This whole concept of a looser vagina, how does that happen? Is that even real? Is there a situation where somebody is not really using their vaginal muscles and the opposite happens?
I love this question. I love also how passionate you are. What is this?
That people have to know.
Yeah, so there are a few reasons. Any gynecologist will also say this is vaginal birth. It does
Right.
take a while for the vagina to heal from vaginal birth. That takes a little bit more time, but there's also a lot of like surgeries that people actually opt to do right after they're giving birth. Like I
Mm.
know many moms that actually opted for that within the same session of giving birth.
A
Times
2-for-1
doctors
deal.
will
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
times doctors will stitch it up already. So I would say 6 months to completely heal and like go back to its original elasticity. So when it comes to like vaginal atrophy, it can be like either the entry hole is like too hard to enter, but like the inside is actually laxed. Not a lot of activity means like it can become looser because you're not using it and tightening your vagina. Because when you're orgasming, you're contracting and it's like working out. Sex is just like gym
Wow.
for your pussy.
Right.
Um,
I love that this is how
yeah.
conversation has started, by the way. And I gotta admit, I am definitely guilty of just assuming that the longer you go without sexual activity in that area, that it's going to be tighter when you come around to using it. And so I'm actually really shocked that the opposite can happen with atrophy and that using it regularly keeps that
Yeah.
thing kind of strong, shall we say.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the cheating stuff. What are the things that can drive someone to cheat on their partner? And I think for this conversation, maybe we can just say that the people involved are able to leave the relationship safely if they want to. They
Yeah.
can financially provide for themselves. They're not trapped in this relationship for some kind of external factor. So, what's the reasoning behind why people cheat?
If you look into the literature of infidelity, there's a large body of literature, like so much research from, everywhere from like sociology, psychology, social psychology, anthropology, and
Mm,
even family studies. So there's a big pool of research. And when I was writing my textbook a few years ago, I had to read all of them
yeah.
in order to, aggregate information and synthesize it in a textbook form. So after reading, all or most of infidelity research, I can tell you that the main reason why people engage in infidelity, it's always attached to some sort of dissatisfaction within a
Mm,
relationship. And I know it's not as, exciting as like money, sex, orgasm, but
right.
ultimately, most people who have engaged in infidelity have reported feeling dissatisfied in their relationship. And this dissatisfaction, a lot of times, comes from sexual dissatisfaction. That's one of them. The other one that we can escape from is pathology. Like some people are serial
Right.
cheaters, and it's like a part of who they are. Maybe they score high in sensation seeking personality.
Mm,
Maybe they are one of the people that score high in permissiveness, a part of their personality. And maybe they're just not meant to be in a monogamous relationship, but they keep putting themselves in a monogamous relationship
right.
in a selfish way. So yeah, the second main reason would be like it's their fault.
Right.
They
Right.
are serial cheaters because of those reasons I just stated, or that they just didn't know any better to put themselves in a position to be successful. So, if you are someone that loves new sexual exploration with new partners, but still want to have an honest and open relationship, you can. You 100% can. It's 2025. Lots of people are in open relationships, but it takes a lot of communication and honesty. And I think humans, like in modern societies, are not taught with those skills. So, and also not taught that they have options. Like
Mhm.
monogamy is the only option in our culture, and therefore people kind of just go for it, and maybe they don't have the personality for it.
Right. This whole concept of feeling sexually dissatisfied in your relationship, that is probably a really tough pill for a lot of people to swallow who have been cheated on because
Yeah.
instant rejection and sadness kind of can come up around that, right? That they don't feel like they were enough for their partner or whatever it might
Mhm.
be. But also that sexual dissatisfaction could really come from that person who's doing the act of the infidelity, what if they're sexually dissatisfied because they feel inferior to their partner or they haven't been open, like sexual communication isn't on point or whatever, right?
Right.
There's so many reasons why somebody can feel that way, right?
So sexual dissatisfaction doesn't always imply that it comes from the partner. It can be intrapersonal, so like internal to the person. Like sexual dissatisfaction can also come from interpersonal, and sexual dissatisfaction comes from societal reasons.
Mm.
So there's intrapersonal reasons, interpersonal reasons, and societal reasons. And intrapersonal reasons could be that person has low sexual self-esteem and needs to externally validate by having sex with other people and having them give them compliments, like feeling
Oh,
achieved and successful that way.
yeah.
um Another intrapersonal is perhaps like you are experiencing sort of identity crisis, and the partner that you're with isn't something that you like personally wanted from the first place, and so now you're trying to quote unquote explore, but again, very much a betrayal behind this partner's back to explore your own sexuality elsewhere, instead of just communicating like, hey, I have changed, like
Mm.
here's what's happening to me, right? So these are the intrapersonal things that people could be experiencing, and without communication it is a recipe for disaster. Second aspect is interpersonal. There's many people that have so many relationship problems. I have seen so many different types of problems. Some I have never heard of. If there's relationship problems, it will for sure translate into like sex problems and bedroom problems. And therefore, people might attribute like us not having sex as a problem, like as a source of dissatisfaction. But a lot of times it comes from something else.
Right. Some people might also have a fear of intimacy, maybe not even realizing it. Curious to know how maybe attachment styles play a role in infidelity or sexual dissatisfaction as well. Anything that you want to share about that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we have seen people who are dismissive, who have dismissive attachments, are more likely to engage in infidelity,
Mm,
and people who have secure attachment style tend to engage in infidelity the least. So of course the way that we feel, our self-worth, and how we are able to form healthy attachments with our partner plays a big role in various aspects of the relationship, but it definitely includes the ability to step out of the relationship and engage in a sexual relation with others. But it's not the only reason. Like
right.
it's not a strong enough predictor. There has to be many things going on in order for like a person to engage in cheating. We can never say like, oh, this person has a dismissive attachment, they will always cheat, because that's not true, and research also doesn't indicate that is a strong predictor.
Right.
um, when a person experiences almost like sense of entitlement, like that typically stems from like narcissism, and
Yeah.
that again is the intrapersonal aspect of why people engage in infidelity.
Yeah, I guess the anxious attachment style is kind of curious to me in this situation because I'm wondering if somebody like that could be almost loyal to a fault to somebody who
Hmm.
might be unfaithful to them, or are they maybe more likely to look outside the relationship for somebody who maybe they could feel more secure with. I don't know. You might not have an answer for that. It might be anecdotal, but I'm just curious about that one, I guess, in particular.
So statistically, about one third of Americans go back to their partner that cheated on them.
Mm,
And I'm going to make an educated guess that a lot of these people are the anxious attachment people.
interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay,
Because
very
when you're
interesting.
anxiously attached, your self-worth comes from your partner. And if your partner cheats on you, but they come back, like you're going to go back to normalcy because that's the only thing you know.
Wow. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Can codependency play a role in infidelity, whether maybe somebody knows that they're kind of done with a relationship, but they're still in it? However, they want to secure their next relationship while they're in their current one because they don't want to be alone, right? And so they got to make sure they find their next partner before letting this person go before they're ready. Is that a thing or a pattern that you have seen?
100%.
Interesting.
100%. You're so on point with that. I have observed that so many times. And we typically call these people like serial monogamists. But there's always like lapse of time where it's not monogamy. right? Because
Right.
they're already found another person, whether or not they engage in sex. It's like emotional infidelity. Like if they've found and if they've been quietly
Yeah.
quitting, like have you heard of quiet quitting?
Yes, can you share
Yeah.
that? Like, explain that?
So many people will think about breaking up with their partner almost a year before actually doing it.
Wow. Yeah.
And that period of time is called quiet quitting. So if you're quiet quitting and you meet someone that you feel emotionally connected with, let's say at work, then you're going to see that as a potential like a comparison level to like, ooh, a relationship can be so nice with this person comparing to this, dried up relationship that I no longer feel like rejuvenated from. So they're going
Right.
to try to like emotionally establish a connection with that person even without sex. Try to emotionally establish a connection, then come back to this, break up with the person, and then pursue the other person. This is without sex, but a lot of times there's sex involved.
So if somebody is, kind of aware that they're doing that, right? That they're never truly on their own or maybe kind of self-reflecting. Do you have any guidance for them if they find that they're going from one relationship to the other and they're kind of securing things before ending previous relationships and stuff like that?
You know what's interesting? I have like there's like two school of thoughts, and I'm a very objective person, so I want the listener or viewers to like pick one that fits them.
Yeah.
So these two school of thoughts are, one is like you can have personal development when you're in a relationship. So
Mm.
it's okay, like there's no shame that you love being in a relationship, especially people that are extroverted. Extroversion is correlated with like wanting to spend time with people. And so if you're extremely extroverted, perhaps you can grow better in a relationship.
Yeah,
So if
interesting.
you notice that you've been hopping from one to another relationship, maybe this time try your best to stay in this relationship and grow within it. Like work on yourself, all the personal development tasks that one can do. There's lots of books and I mean your podcast too. Lots of things to like learn about to like grow. So you can do that within a relationship. That's the
Yeah.
first school of thought. Like some people just can grow better in a relationship. The second
Mm.
school of thought is like you can never grow unless you have time on your own.
Mm.
And because this alone time is, it kind of stems from like stoicism. Like this alone time allows you to reflect and to truly self discover. And that can be for every aspect of life. It can be self discovering your true personality, self discovering your career path, self discovering your sexual preferences. Um, Whatever it is, like alone time is required in
Mm.
order to make that sort of reflection. So, yeah, if you're listening and you feel like one resonates more with you, you can take that framework and develop yourself from there. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, like there's never one right answer.
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that first school of thought. I don't feel like I've heard that before because it seems like there's definitely this narrative that if you are not on your own at some point and you're jumping from one thing to another, you're doing something wrong. You got all these issues. You're really
Yeah.
codependent. You can grow in a relationship and just being mindful that you are maybe doing things differently or working on yourself. And the other part of it where you kind of have to have this like stoic approach of being on your own and figuring everything
Mhm.
out until you're with somebody. I feel like that could absolutely go across the line into kind of perfectionism or kind of purity culture, even in a way where it's like, I don't want any
Mhm.
outside influence of any kind, which I don't even
Mhm.
know if that's realistic. I mean, everybody's an influence in some way, right? You have friends, you have family, you have coworkers, you have
Mhm.
societal things. So, can you even get to that point of pure, non influence for your next potential relationship? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually want to talk about this concept because it's so popular now on TikTok and a couple of celebrities are doing it, or maybe they're not doing it, but they're saying that they're doing it. Is intentional celibacy. It's interesting to me because the act itself is completely fine. Like I support people doing what the fuck ever to their bodies.
Yeah.
But narrative is sometimes toxic. The
Mm.
narrative is sometimes like, oh, I just want to like purify my body. Um,
Interesting.
you are now using self-righteousness and you're negatively judging women who are sexually liberated, who want to explore, who wants to intentionally and mindfully enjoy casual sex, that,
Right.
and now you're saying that they're wrong because the better way to go to be more quote unquote pure and refreshed is to not have sex. So I don't like that narrative. Anyone can do whatever they want as long as they're mindful and they find it pleasurable. It's like whatever you want to do.
I didn't even know that that was kind of floating around on the internet these days.
Oh,
Can we like
this
get
is
over
not
this
the
stuff?
1800s.
Very, very interesting. So let's say that somebody's tuning in right now and they went through a breakup recently because there was infidelity. The person who was cheated on is starting to date, or maybe they're in a new relationship and
Mhm.
they want to trust again, but they can't help but be hyper vigilant. Do you have any kind of practical tips or advice for them?
Yeah, I want to share I have been cheated on before,
Mm,
and it
same.
is a huge, trauma, and it
Yeah.
takes time to heal from it. And honestly, you never really heal from it. Like it's kind of
Mm,
you move on and you move forward, and sometimes it comes up and sometimes it doesn't. And when
yeah.
people are like, "Oh, I'm completely healed from it," I feel like whenever a big thing like that happens to you, it does change you, either a lot or a little bit. For me, it changed me quite a bit because afterwards I became a huge people pleaser. I had
Mm,
mad fear of rejection, and a huge people pleaser. I engage in a lot of like compulsive sexual behavior because I wanted validation. Like someone didn't think I was valuable enough, right? Someone cheated on me because I wasn't valuable enough. So now I need to do this to make me feel better. And
mm,
I went through quite a binge period for like a year. And
yeah.
then through my like kind of personal psychedelic journey. That's for another day.
Different podcast episode. We'll
Different
have you back
podcast,
for
yeah.
that one.
But through that, learned that I am not being mindful with my sexual activity. So here are the practices that I've done, that I've personally done it, and I've read a lot of research on it. The
Incredible.
first thing is from positive psychology, and it's journaling. And I know it's very duh, right? Like I'm
Mm.
sure you're already journaling, right?
I try my best. I'm not
Yeah.
very consistent. It's a tough one for me.
Yeah, but it can come and go because
Yes.
especially the topic we're talking about now is like people who are trying to self-develop and date again. So it's a
Yeah.
great time to journal because it's a great time to acknowledge your fears, acknowledge your anxiety, and at the same time um validate how you feel and validate like how you can move forward. And so through journaling, you're able to engage in self reflection. Writing it out and affirming yourself can be a very powerful tool in teaching, like reprogramming your brain of your self worth. And
Yeah.
so you can journal of your like the fears of your like, I don't know if I'm pretty enough. I don't know if I'm like that. These are some of the things I wrote. Like I don't know if I can find a long-term partner. I don't know if I'm too bossy. Like, like I just write
Mm.
things down, whatever that comes to my mind. But then I always couple that with some sort of positive sexual affirmations, right? Like um I am worthy, I know my worth. I deserve pleasure, love, and affection. I know that I can experience pleasure whenever I want. So doing positive sexual affirmations can be
Yeah.
really helpful. um Second method is seeing a sex therapist or a somatic sex therapist. So it focuses on helping you embody and become sexually confident through movement.
Mm.
And a lot of sex isn't something you talk about like in therapy. Like you can talk about there in therapy for a while, and then there's some things that are stored in the body that
Right.
needs to be like moved and in different ways in order for you to experience that visceral sexual feeling. So you can couple it with talk therapy, which I'm a big fan of. um but somatic sexual therapy and also sexological body work. Have you ever heard of that term?
No, no, please do tell.
These people are trained. They have to be certified. A lot of times, a sexological body worker can work on your body in ways that you just can't get through it through talking. with a therapist. I'll tell you like a short story of
Okay.
a sexological body worker that's a friend of mine. She told me this story and it's so touching. It's one of the most like memorable stories I have in my head. So, she has been a sexological body worker for many, many years, like over 15 years. And this is one of her favorite clients. So, this guy has a condition where half of his lower body doesn't have motor function. So, he's in a wheelchair
Mm.
and he's been on like online dating and stuff, but he has never been successful in online dating. So after a long period of time of trying to date, he then tried to seek out like a different sort of experience. So they like first had like consultation through Zoom. Da da da. The day of, he showed up in a wheelchair and was like ready for the experience, the therapy. She help him get on the bed, get naked, and she just laid on his chest. He started crying, like
Mm.
bawling, just crying hysterically. After a few minutes, he said, "Thank you so much. I never thought that in my life I would have this kind of experience."
Wow.
And she said, "Yeah, it changed me forever." So for me, I was like, wow, at first I was kind of skeptical of this occupation, but then after listening to many of these stories, actually, I was like, wow, this is really hard because you work with people who have a lot of a lot of sex issues,
Yeah.
right? And
Wow.
self-esteem issues and yeah, so it just
Right.
changed him.
Wow, and you think about if that experience didn't happen, where would those feelings and that energy for him go? Maybe holding that in indefinitely
Mhm.
and, who knows how that, I guess, manifests in the body or emotionally or anything like that. That is so interesting. I did not know that was a thing that existed. And
Yeah.
I also feel like in some relationships, if you're with somebody who is manipulative in some way, that could probably be used against somebody in the sense of like, well, it's not cheating. I'm with a
Yeah.
sexological body worker, right? Still have to
Right.
have boundaries, but just knowing that that's an option for people is such good information.
Thank you. And
Incredible.
I
Yeah.
do I do want to say that these sexological bodywork therapists, they're usually really good at reading what people's motivations are, and if you're
Yeah.
not there to like heal from some sort of trauma, they usually don't accept those clients.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
really good to know.
it's purely therapeutic.
So interesting. And I just want to say I resonate so much with what you shared about being cheated on. And when I was cheated on, I was with this person kind of on and off for 4.5 years. But once we were broken up, I kind of went through this phase where I did a lot of casual dating and all that stuff. And looking back, I still can't figure out if it was because I felt so disrespected in the sense that I had lost my virginity to this person. They obviously
Yeah.
didn't care, that it didn't mean as much to them as it did to me. So I kind of felt like, well, if this is not as important as I thought it was, then I'll just share this with everybody, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or if I really was just because I was with somebody for 4.5 years, I was just very ready for new experiences and dating new people. Maybe it was a mix of both of that kind of trauma, but also wanting the novelty of new people. I guess I'll never know, but I'm curious to know if you have anything to share about that.
Yeah, I think after such a tragic event in anyone's life, it's usually the time where people reevaluate what they stand for, what they truly want. So there's like a theory in my field called like the catastrophe theory. And after a catastrophe, you have to do something like equally big in a different way in order to like get yourself out of that previous catastrophe.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
if you're cheated on, like that's a big catastrophe. Going on like a brand new adventure and self exploration is like the new thing that can get you into it in order to help you heal from the first catastrophe. For me, I know that, at the beginning it was like really liberating and fun to like go out on dates, to enjoy sex whenever I want. And it was fun up until I would say like half a year in. Then I realized that I became addicted to validation.
Mm.
And I'm so like quote unquote good at sex that like it's a good way to get validation. And once I realized that, I started slowly working on myself and working on different ways to affirm my worth rather than seeking it from others.
And when you did that work, did you find that your desire to have sex with new people reduced because you felt worthy in other ways? Or
No,
oh,
it just comes from now a very empowering place.
oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
My
Okay.
normal sexual exploration level is my baseline. Like is my normal. It's either from a toxic place or from a healthy empowering place. And it used
Mm,
to be from a toxic place, and I know it because I can distinguish the difference. And even like in my body, like back in the days when I was having sex for external validation, I didn't care if I come. I performed my best so I can quote unquote look good in bed and become a good, lover. Made sure that the other person had a great time so that I get validation and compliments. I didn't
mm,
care about my body and my pleasure and my own time. But now sex is all about making sure that I feel pleasure every single time because
yeah.
I deserve it. Like we all deserve it. We all deserve a nice time like when we have sex. And so my husband and I have been together for a long time now, but we have both explored a lot sexually, which I think really helps
Mm,
because if I only had sex with like two people, I would still be wanting to have sex with more people. And I
yeah.
mean, we still like we're always open so to some sort of discussion, like we attend sex parties and it's just like, yeah, it's a part of who we are. We're sexually explorative people. And it's
Yeah.
nice to meet someone like that because it can make you feel very lonely and like a freak in like in society when you don't date people who understand like sexual exploration.
Right. So
Yeah.
interesting. And yeah, when I kind of look back at my experience, I think me kind of exploring different people and stuff, it was so fun for a very long time. And then I kind of hit a wall where I did start to feel like, you know what, I want a deeper connection. And this is not filling this need anymore. And it's weird
Yeah.
how you could be doing the same thing and then have some kind of new realization that kind of kicks you into a different phase. Okay, so I have some questions about the non-monogamous conversations. This is becoming more normalized, which I think is great. Everybody is different and has different needs in a relationship. For these to work well, does everybody have to be on board and on the same page? Because I feel like there's probably instances out there where maybe one person wants to have an open relationship and the other person just doesn't want to lose their person, so they agree to it, but maybe they're not as excited about it. Can you share anything about this topic that you find is important?
You're so on point with that because actually one of my clients or like a couple, the guy like came out as quote unquote polyamorous, right? Like he had a whole coming out like moment, almost like coming out as gay. Like he like came
Mhm.
out and he's like, "Listen, I've been reading a lot of books and I now identify as polyamorous." And they're a married couple. So then she goes, "Oh, um like what do we do?" And he's like, "Well,
Yeah.
it's my orientation, so uh, like I need to date other people like that. I just have so much love and affection to give and I would feel more fulfilled if I get to do that. So like how do you feel?" And she's like, um I guess I can try. I mean, I don't have options. Like either we get a
Wow.
divorce or I can try this. So she hopped on and tried.
Yeah.
um and a year later, they got a divorce. And
Yeah.
he is now with the woman that they were all in a polyamory relationship with, but now he's with that woman um as their third in a throuple. So like that woman has a husband.
Oh, okay.
The original couple that was my client, they're divorced because she is a monogamous person. And
Yeah.
she tried and she's like, "This is not for me, I'm out."
Yeah.
And that's a little bit reductive. It was a long process, very painful, a lot of traumatic experiences, but it's much better for her. And now she's, actively dating and she's happy and healthy because during that time when she was trying polyamory, she was very unhealthy. Like she was extremely skinny, she wasn't eating. Um, so you can kind of tell when people are not in their right flow, like the way that they're
Yeah.
supposed to be. It's kind of like being gay and have to be in a closet.
Mm.
Like for her, it's like she's monogamous, but she's trying to not be. um,
Right.
and at the end of the day, it just didn't work. So like, yeah, when you were talking about like non-monogamy, it is more common, but still like a very, very, very low percentage. I see a lot of like sensational news articles, right? Like, especially on like, I don't know, like Daily Mail. And
Mm.
it's always like all Gen Zs are polyamorous, or like, it's like calm down. Like
Yeah,
I teach Gen
right.
Zs, I hang out with them every day. I know that they're not. Like
Yeah,
we're still very much looking at less than 10% of people that are in non-monogamous relationship. Less than 10%. Okay. So like it's not that many people. However, it
right.
has become a little bit more of a point of discussion, because I think this kind of ties a bow back to our first discussion, because many people have been monogamous, continuously try to explore sexually elsewhere, and perhaps realize like I shouldn't be in a monogamous relationship. That's not who I
Right.
am. And now they have to like learn more about themselves and be courageous and openly communicate who they actually are.
It's such an interesting perspective that somebody could have tried to make monogamous relationships work for them for so long, and they were maybe, unfaithful, or, there's
Mhm.
infidelity involved in all of them, and they've been called cheater, 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 all this stuff.
Mhm.
And then they put themselves into a non-monogamous relationship where they have a different set of expectations and they really thrive in that. I would
Yeah,
imagine that does wonders for their self-worth, maybe from other relationships thinking they're just a bad person, and now they're in a relationship with other people who understand their needs. Like, it's nice that these options are becoming more normalized for people so they don't
exactly.
have to feel that way. Let's say there's been infidelity in a relationship and
Mhm.
both people want to stay and try to move on or heal from it, and they're still going over those obstacles. Maybe the intimacy is tough right now. Anything that you might want to share with somebody who's going through that?
Yeah, I would say I have like three different tips. Like the first one is seek out couples counseling. It's really
Yeah,
helpful to have a third party professional like navigating that conversation for you. It's very hard to discover true reasons or root causes by yourselves, especially if you're
right.
not well read or trained in like psychology or psychotherapy. It can be hard to even like communicate your true emotions and feelings about certain things. So if you have resources, I would say seek out couples counseling. The second one is exposing yourself to sex positive content. And that can be reading books, like Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. And then there's many other sex positive books from credible sources that when you're exposed to more sex positive content, you'll slowly feel more sexually confident. And that's one way to kind of almost do like self care for your sexual self. um and exposing yourself to content doesn't have to always be reading. If you don't love reading, you can listen to like this podcast. You can listen to my podcast, Love Bites. There's so many other sexuality podcasts that you can listen to. If you can also listen to these books, right? And then lastly, I would recommend trying sexual meditation. There's a lot of
Mm.
research on sexual mindfulness practices and how effective and successful they can be. A lot of the research comes from Dr. Laurie Brotto from the University of British Columbia, and she was really interested in how people can use sexual mindfulness activities to increase their sexual desires and also arousal response. And she has had many different sort of participants, like a group of participants that are all women, a group of participants that are like college students, and there was also a group of participants that tried it that were former like that were cancer survivors. So in her research, she concluded that like sexual mindfulness activities like sexual meditation can be an extremely powerful tool, and it's free, right? Like it's free. That's why you don't hear it in ads and pharmaceuticals, because like you're not paying for Viagra or pink Viagra per se. Um,
Right.
it's free and you can do it yourself, and it's extremely helpful. I have been doing it almost every single day for the last 4 years, and I would say it's my favorite. form of self-care. If you like quiet meditation, some people
Yeah.
like that. You can do it quietly while thinking through different parts of your erogenous zones. So the back of your ears, maybe you can massage it while you meditate. Your nipples, maybe you can massage it while you meditate. So it kind of like shifts your normal meditation routine to like a sexual one. Or if you like guided meditation, which I'm a big fan of because I just like following instructions. If you're a fan of guided meditation, I have just free guided meditation on YouTube. That's a guided sexual meditation. There's a 5-minute one, a 10-minute one, whatever works for you.
Oh, I love it. I meditation, visualization, I have found those to be so powerful. I just got to add this one to
Yeah.
my arsenal. And my husband's going to walk and be like, "Hey, what's going
Oh, for your husband. So I have, if you go on my YouTube, I have the couple sexual meditation one as well. I
Ooh,
want you to try it. Let me know how it goes. You sit cross legs and across from each other and holding hands.
I
Try
know.
it and report back.
I will. I'll report back. Curious for the couples who, or the people who are staying in their relationship despite there being infidelity, maybe on one or both sides, and they're dealing with a lot of outside opinions about the relationship, whatever it might be. Any advice for that?
I would set boundaries. I would just openly set boundaries. I'm kind of going through a personal issue right now with like fertility. And even
Mm,
though it's not the same as cheating, but it's kind of like a big like problem in your life, right? So with my friends, I go like, hey, I don't want to talk about this all the time. Like I would prefer
right,
when we hang out that we talk about other positive things and update each other on what we're up to and talk about movies where we've just saw that we liked and not about this. I don't
right.
want my whole life to become about this. And so for those that have been cheated on that feel like people around them are consistently giving them unsolicited advice, just tell them like, hey, I don't want my life to be about this. I don't want our relationship to be about this. I want to focus on the positive things and like update each other on our life rather than focusing on this topic. Right? Like they mean well. And if they're your good friends and your family, they want to help. They just mean well, but they don't know how to go about doing it. You have to teach them. And,
Right.
for me, like going through this like personal stuff, I realized like people want to give you advice, but at the same time, it's like, I already know all of this. Like I read so much research about this already. You don't need to talk to me about this.
Such good advice. And I like the fact that you mentioned that, you have experiential knowledge and you also have you've done all this
Yeah.
research and all these qualifications. I have found that to be really important when I'm seeking guidance from somebody, that they actually know what it's like to experience what
Yeah.
I'm going through. And I think
Yeah.
everybody's different, but I'm just curious, and you don't have to answer this if this is too uncomfortable, but have you cheated before? And has that informed your work with how you help couples who are maybe coming across infidelity in their relationship?
I have. I have
Oh,
cheated before
okay.
and I have
Anything that
worked on
yeah.
it already and I know why. It came
Oh,
from the before for time and it was when I
yeah.
had low self-worth.
Mm,
With low self-esteem, I seek it from elsewhere. So if I'm in a relationship where I'm not consistently getting affirmations and attention and excessive amount of affection, I then stray and try to get it somewhere else because I did not fill my own cup and I did that in order for others to fill my cup.
mm. Thank you for
And
being open about that. I really appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was a terrible thing to do. My boyfriend at the time was extremely sad and in distraught the fact that I did it and I after that I would never do it again just because he took a long time to recover
Yeah.
and went through really crazy things like depression and stuff. And so I'm like, oh my God, like my little action, well, quote unquote little, right? It's not little, but like
Right.
my action has set a course of such immense repercussions that I had no idea. So yeah, that really scarred me. Like, I'm a shitty person and I need to be better.
Well, I appreciate this conversation so much. I've been doing this podcast for so many years now, and you brought up so many new pieces of information
Oh,
today, which is always so refreshing for me because it can be hard to find. The fact that
wow.
you had multiple pieces of information I'd never heard before was really fascinating for me specifically. So I want to thank you so much. And
Thank
if there's
you.
any final tidbits you want to throw at people that we didn't cover that you think is important, and then where can people find you and your work and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I would say if you've never talked about sex in your relationship, start today. Like talking about sex, about each other's preferences, about each other's potential like fantasies, or maybe in the future, what might we want to try, our preferred sexual frequency in a week, like all these things, like make it a part of your routine. Like talk about it once a month or something like that. Like I
Right.
I have a practice called sexy check-in where like I have a list of questions that people should be asking once a month about their sex life in order
I
to
love
consistently
that.
stay on the same page. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be my last word.
Oh my gosh, and where can people find that checklist? On your website?
Yes, you
Okay.
can find a checklist on the website. You can find me on my website, lovebites.co. That's LUVBITES.co. And my social media is also lovebites.co.
Incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. I hope this helped you in some way. I know it's a tough topic. And one thing we didn't mention on this episode, but it has been discussed on past episodes, is the importance of setting clear expectations in the beginning of a relationship and really discussing what each person's definition is of infidelity, where the lines are. So many issues can arise when people have different definitions of cheating or what is inappropriate behavior, and they're just never talked about because, they each assume that the other person has the same definition. So having that talk early on can hopefully help avoid some of these situations, whether you need to have a really honest conversation about texting or porn or flirting or co-working relationship boundaries or physical touching other people, but whatever the line is for you, communicating that up front can be very helpful. And I get that sometimes you don't even know where your line is until it's crossed, and then you have to discuss that and set a new expectation together. And I also wanted to get into something, but we just didn't have time today. I really wanted to ask Dr. Tara if, when she mentioned her situation of cheating on someone, if that happened before or after she was personally cheated on. And maybe she covers that in her podcast, but it made me want to kind of do a little bit of research here to see if there's any different studies around this. What I found, and these are from Psychology Today, Institute of Family Studies, and SciPost. Basically, if there is infidelity in a relationship, the chances of infidelity on both ends go up, whether that is with the same partner or future partners. So, for example, whether you do the cheating or you are cheated on, if you stay with the person or you are with another person in the future, unfortunately, the statistics show collectively that infidelity there's a higher percentage of that in relationships. So, whether that is in retaliation to the same partner who cheated on you or a different partner, you have a higher chance of getting cheated on or actually doing the cheating yourself. This to me is incredibly fascinating, and perhaps there's a researcher listening who would want to come on and talk about what's going on here. But this makes me really interested if being cheated on or doing the cheating just normalizes the behavior for people, and therefore they go on and perpetuate that. If somebody is cheated on, and then they find themselves in a new relationship, maybe they are going for a similar type of person who has cheating tendencies, and they're not aware that they're attracted to that type of person. That could be it. Or is it something where because they've been cheated on, if they find themselves in a situation where they could cheat, are they more likely to do that because it's been done to them and it feels more normalized? Or are they comparing the way that they were cheated on with how they're about to cheat on somebody, maybe thinking it's not as bad as what happened to them, so maybe they don't see it as cheating? I don't know. I'm very fascinated by this, but it looks like if there's infidelity in a relationship, the chances of future infidelity are higher no matter the situation and no matter what end it's coming on. And then the people who there isn't infidelity in the relationship, they are more likely to not have infidelity in the future, whether with the same partner or other partners. Very interesting. And of course, that could be for a multitude of reasons. If you want to try to avoid these situations as much as possible and you don't want to be somebody perpetuating infidelity, I think it's important to learn why this happens and how we can become more aware of it. All right, everybody, I hope you have a good rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon. So glad you tuned into Self-Helpless. If you want to go deeper into this topic, check out the list of related conversations linked in today's episode's description. Feel free to share the podcast with anyone who may appreciate the variety of things we discuss here. And if you don't want to miss notifications about new episodes, you can subscribe to Self-Helpless wherever you enjoy podcasts. You can also head to selfhelplesspodcast.com for some free goodies like the Quotable Buffet, the Watch and Read list, and more. All right, love you big time, and thank you so much.